first, where would you put your level of concern in terms of this conflict today, this specific one, escalating into an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah?
Jessica, it's good to be with you too, always. And what I'd say is, from the very start of this war, I've had concerns about a two-front war with Israel, not only in Gaza, but also in southern Lebanon with Hamas. This only exacerbates that. The fact that it was a strike on the Golan Heights, it was another strike. And for those of us who monitor the daily back and forth fire versus counterfire between Hezbollah and the Israeli Defense Forces, this has been something that's been occurring every single day. In a morning update I get from the Israeli Defense Forces, I see that they have had more missiles and rockets launched from Lebanon into Israeli territory. They've often described their strikes back at those locations. But what we're talking about now is multiple civilian casualties, young children, as Jeremy Diamond just reported. So what I'd have to say, and this is a long way to answer your question, Jessica, I think it's only raising the temperatures, and the potential of attacks by Israel into Lebanon is only growing.
And you give a lot of good context there in the history of the last several months of what's been going on that northern border. We know that a Western official told CNN today that this Hezbollah strike was likely unintentional, that Israel did not want to, and that Israel doesn't want to trigger an all-out war in response. Unintentional in where it landed and who it was targeting, and kind of getting at this idea that no side wants full-out war. Is that your read on these things as well?
It's not, Jessica. And interestingly, when I saw the reports of an unintentional strike, I don't know what that means. It's pretty apparent that the rockets came out of Lebanese territory, that they bear the markings of Iranian rockets and missiles, that this has been a repeated strike, and it's been a taunting by Hezbollah toward Israel. What I've said from the very beginning is Israel would be foolish to open a second front from a military perspective. I'm not talking about the politics of this, but from a military perspective, a military commander never wants to open a second front with his enemy. But when you have continuous attacks on the territory of Israel by Hezbollah, another terrorist organization, another organization that supported Iran, you have to provide a proportional response. I think the biggest fear right now is what will be Israel's proportional response. Will it be continued attacks on those points of origin where the rocket came from, or will it be something much greater? And we've all known, those who study the history of the Israelis' wars into Lebanon in 1982 and 2004, those have been somewhat disastrous for the Israeli Defense Forces because they get caught up in a quagmire inside of Lebanon. You're talking about dealing not only with terrorists, but with a nation state. So it's very difficult for Israel to counter this kind of thing from a terrorist organization that receives the blessing from the Lebanese government to be in their territory.
So that I want to get at, because last night I talked with the former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, and he told us the following with respect to Lebanon, the Lebanese government's responsibility for Hezbollah. Here's what he said.
We are not going to tweezer our way through and look for Hezbollah amid Lebanon. Hezbollah is part of the government. Hezbollah is part of Lebanon. And what Lebanon needs to do tonight is move all of Hezbollah away from the border, all the way up to the river of Litani, and stop everything they're doing. That is the only way they can prevent an all-out war.
I'm curious what your response is to that, what your take is on that.
Well, unfortunately, I agree with, not unfortunate that I agree with him, but when the former Prime Minister talks about the Litani River, that was the key objective in 1982 in an operation that Israel conducted. That was primarily based on shorter range rockets. What Hezbollah has gained from Iran is longer range rockets. They can strike from a further distance than the Litani River, which is about 40 kilometers from the Israeli border. So yes, what you have is a Lebanese government that is allowing a terrorist organization to operate from within their territories. There are a lot of nation states that allow terrorists to operate from within their borders. And I agree with the Israeli government. The Lebanese government has to gain control of these terrorists and put a stop to these kind of activities, which are truthfully not military operations. They are terrorist events. They fire rockets haphazardly. These do not have a point of aim, if you will. And if it's a mistake that it hit a playground, then that would be interesting to say. But most of these rockets are area fire weapons. They're unguided. So you never know where they're going to hit and what kind of civilian casualties they're going to have. So just truthfully, the destruction of a terrorist organization inside of a nation state is critical to establish peace between these two countries.
All right, Lieutenant General Mark Heyertling, thank you so much. We appreciate it.